3 races over 3 weekends, but who ended up coming out with more questions than answers? This week I'm chatting all about the European triple header, so get ready because you've been summoned to the Steward's office. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Steward's office. I'm Saira and Formula 1 did not have a race this week, but we just came off the back of a triple header which was kind of intense, so I thought we'd have a chat about how all the teams and drivers did. And this triple header really kicked off the European leg of the season, the first 3 European races that we've had. It started off with Emilia-Romagna in Italy. Not the most straightforward race for some. We saw Franco Colapinto make a return to Formula 1 with Alpine swapping Jack Doohan out for him. We saw an extremely hard qualifying for Ferrari and Max Verstappen taking the win. After that, we headed out to the jewel in the crown of Formula 1, and that was Monaco. Formula 1 and the FIA introduced the new 2-stop rule into the Monaco Grand Prix to try and make it more interesting because overtakes don't really happen when we head to this GP. But let's be honest, it didn't really make a whole load of difference. It wasn't a particularly interesting race. Mercedes had problems during qualifying. Fernando Alonso ended up having a DNF, and Charles Leclerc wasn't able to get another win in his home race. The win this time went to the McLaren car of Lando Norris. And then we rounded out this triple header with the Spanish Grand Prix, and Carlos Sainz and Williams in general had a bit of a nightmare. Neither of the cars qualified particularly well. Alex Albon ended up DNFing from the race, and Carlos Sainz was not able to score points. We had car issues for Lewis Hamilton, which hindered him in the last part of the race. We had an absolutely awful strategy call from Red Bull during a safety car period. And that well talked about incident between Max Verstappen and George Russell. Oh, and of course, we had the whole flexi wing rule coming in at the Spanish Grand Prix as well with that new technical directive. So it was a packed out triple header. A lot to talk about, a lot that went on, and a lot that the teams are going to be looking back on now over the week off that they've had to figure out where to go from here. I'm going to kick off though by talking about some of the teams that have impressed me the most and that did super well over these last 3 races. And I don't think it's going to surprise anyone that obviously on that list is McLaren. They had the strongest triple header out of all 10 of the teams, and that's not a surprise to anyone really that that's the case. Their consistency has been so strong throughout this part of the season. I'm sure it's going to continue to the end, but yeah, this triple header, they were the team that scored the most points. They had 116 points in total. Both drivers were on every single podium in this triple header, and they took 2 out of the 3 wins. The improvement there is they could have taken another win, and it could have been a 1-2 and pole position in every single race. But let's be honest, 116 points in this triple header and 6 podiums is an incredible feat for McLaren. And I think the main thing that everyone was looking at, and I spoke about this in my Spanish GP podcast, right, coming into the Spanish GP, was that flexi wing, and was it going to affect McLaren? And it really didn't. They are still an extremely strong team with an extremely strong car. That flexi wing didn't really make a huge difference by the looks of it. Super consistent from them though, really strong, 116 points. I mean, yeah, there are going to be learnings they'll take away from this, but I mean, overall for McLaren, they're walking away pretty chuffed with how this triple header went. Now, the next team I'm talking about are the team that had the second most amount of points. And it might surprise some people, but it is Ferrari. They ended up with 71 points over the course of this triple header, which is pretty good for them, let's be honest, considering that this season has not been the most straightforward for them, and those points came along with some podiums from Charles Leclerc. He had 2 of them. Charles also has the 3rd most amount of points out of all of the drivers as well, so he's had a really strong triple header. Ferrari in general, I wouldn't call it a super strong triple header for them. I don't think they necessarily found a lot more pace along the way. I think what happened with them is that they were really able to capitalize when teams around them, Red Bull and Mercedes namely, were struggling. Mercedes had a lot of issues, which we will talk about, with their car that didn't help them in this triple header. And with Red Bull, there is that consistent issue that they have with whoever is in that second seat. And then Spain was not great for them either, with Max only taking away 1 point for the team. So I think what Ferrari have done is pick up the points when other teams have left them on the table. They've got 2 fairly consistent, strong drivers in their car, which kind of makes up for that massive lack of pace that the car seems to have at times. But I think with where Ferrari are right now, with their car development and their pace, that's what they need. They need drivers that are trying to extract as much out of the car as they can and just taking the opportunities when they're available, because there's not much, it seems, that they can do about the car at the moment. So, not super strong from Ferrari. And I'm not going to say they're necessarily happy with this triple header either. Even though they've managed to move up to P2 in the constructors now, they've leapfrogged Red Bull and Mercedes. I wouldn't necessarily say they are happy, because they've not solved any of their problems. And I mean, it's still going to put them on the back foot, and it will be very easy for the likes of Mercedes and Red Bull to overtake them again. So yeah, it's a weird one with Ferrari, because looking at just the numbers, they did well, but when you look at the context of everything, there is still a lot they need to improve on. There is one other team that I do want to talk about in these teams that I think did fairly well during this triple header, and that is Visa Cash App RB. They've walked away from this triple header with 20 points, which is pretty good for VCARB, right? Sure, it's not in the hundreds, it's not near the hundreds, but 20 points for a team like VCARB is incredible, especially when the back of the field can get really tight in the Constructors' Championship. Those 20 points could make a massive amount of difference to them. They are 6th in their WCC right now. I think it's Williams that are above them, and Williams have had a bit of a wobble of this triple header. But when you take away the top 4 teams from Formula 1, VCARB are the team that scored the most amount of points over the triple header. So I think there are a lot of positives that they are going to take from it. This is really going to help with their WCC battle. And yeah, to be the team that after the 4 top teams, you guys have scored the most, I think has really good signs for them, but we will see how the rest of the season goes. I think they're going to be pretty happy though, because they did manage to score points in every single race in the triple header. I think 2 of the races, it was just Isaac Hadjar that scored points, and then one of them, it was Isaac Hadjar and Liam Lawson. So pretty good on the consistency front there for them. The next part is sort of the teams I expected better from, or I'm slightly surprised at, I guess. I think, yeah, it's just teams that I thought were going to do a bit better. And there are only 2 teams that I really want to talk about in this section, and they are Mercedes and Red Bull. And let's kick off with Red Bull. Now, they've only managed to score 39 points over the course of the triple header, which isn't awful. They've got points, they're in the double digits. 39 is still a good number to have, but if we look at previous seasons for them, this is not as strong as we have seen them. They have had 1 win, but other than that, they've had no podiums. So that 1 win came from Max Verstappen in Emilia-Romagna, and that was it. They haven't been on the podium other than that, which I think is slightly surprising for some people, but Red Bull have really been struggling with that car. It seems so hard to drive for both of their drivers at this point. Max has his complaints, Yuki is struggling, and it has just been rough for them, let's be honest. Pace is not great. They are 3rd in the Constructors' Championship right now, which is really not a place where they want to be. It feels like they're in a little bit of a ditch right now and don't really know how to get out of it. And that second seat with Yuki Tsunoda, and it was Liam Lawson, and before that it was Sergio Perez, it's not working out. And once again spoke about this during the Spanish GP episode. I don't really know what they're doing there, and I don't know how it gets better for that second driver. But at the moment, whoever is in that seat can't seem to get close to the points. Well, you know, Yuki's been close-ish, but isn't consistently able to get into Q3 and score big points for the team. So I don't know. And, you know, like I said, Spain did not help. That Max Verstappen incident between him and George Russell, and Max being bumped down to 10th place and only taking home a point, would have been quite a big dent for Red Bull. It was a rough triple header for them. So probably one that they're going to want to forget, but hopefully one that they can also take a lot of learnings from. And then we move on to Mercedes. And I do have to correct something I just said earlier in the podcast, because I just realised I said that Visa Cash App RB scored the most amount of points after the top 4 teams. Visa Cash App RB have actually scored more points than the top 3 teams, because Mercedes scored less than them over this triple header. VCarb had 20 points and Mercedes only managed 18 points this triple header. If I thought Red Bull's points were bad, Mercedes a lot worse. And it feels kind of wild, because start of the season we were seeing George Russell on a podium a fair bit, and they were second place in the Constructors' Championship, and I was thinking, okay, they've kind of fixed what's going on with the car and it's looking quite strong. George seems to be really happy with it and Kimi's settling really well into the team. And it came to this triple header and everything seemed to fall apart for them. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Emilia-Romagna, nightmare. Kimi Antonelli's home race, he ended up DNFing, so pop that one aside. Then we head to Monaco. Kimi Antonelli crashes at the end of Q1 and can't partake in Q2. George Russell ends up having an engine issue in Q2 and can't put a quick enough lap time in to actually get closer to the front and into Q3. So they're starting well outside the top 10 on a track where you can't overtake to get points, and that's where they stayed during the race. No points in Monaco, and then we head into Spain and Kimi Antonelli on lap 55 of the race DNFs with an engine issue. I don't know how much worse this could have gone for Mercedes, bar having both of their drivers just consistently DNF. Yeah, 18 points feels just incredibly rough for Mercedes, who did look so strong before. Toto Wolff just, yeah, he feels like there wasn't much to learn from this triple header other than suffering. And I completely get where he's coming from, because it was hard for the team. They are currently residing in 4th place, I want to say. Nope, they are in 3rd. Sorry, I had to go check that. Red Bull are currently in 4th place, which is even worse for Red Bull. Even that bigger points haul for them compared to Mercedes wasn't able to push them into 3rd. But yeah, Mercedes in 3rd place at the moment. That battle between 2nd, 3rd and 4th place, I think we're going to see it swap a couple of times throughout this season, because between those 3 teams, Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull, they all have their peaks and troughs at various different racetracks. So I don't think we've got a really clear picture of who is going to be in 2nd and 3rd place. So it's one to keep an eye out on. But for Mercedes, yeah, this was exceptionally rough for them. Teams who are really struggling though, we've got 3 of them, guys. Haas, Alpine and Aston Martin. They had 6, 4 and 2 points respectively. Alpine though, I mean, look, at the moment that driver swap has not made the biggest amount of change. They have had issues with the car. Franco Colapinto crashed on his first race back. 4 points isn't awful, but I think they were hoping for a lot more. I think all of the teams were at the end of the day, but yeah, that driver swap doesn't seem to have made a difference. Haas have been, I feel, just hit and miss this season. Their drivers sometimes have a little bit of bad luck. Sometimes the car is great and then sometimes it's not so great. So it feels like it just depends on what track they go to and if they can get the car in the right window. And with Aston Martin, 2 points. Not great. And they only managed to score those 2 points in Spain, with Fernando Alonso getting his first points of the season. So those 3 teams, there's a lot they're probably and hopefully going to be able to take away from this triple header in terms of learnings. Points wise though, not that many. And I think it's gutting to see that, yeah, Aston Martin are only walking away with 2 points. I think the main line coming out from Aston Martin at the moment is that there's really not much focus on this year's car. A lot of the focus being put on 2026, which I do get, because 1, Adrian Newey's going to have a massive influence on that car, and 2, yeah, the new regulations coming in and a new engine provided for them. But still, you think that there is some effort going into this year's car, and it is struggling. All right, let's have a chat about drivers that did well though, coming away from the teams, and obviously have to talk about the McLaren boys. incredibly consistent performances from both of those drivers. Lando Norris actually scored the most points during this triple header. He came away with 1 win, 3 podiums, but even though he scored the most points, he's still in P2, which isn't bad at all, but he's going to be trying to keep closing that gap with his teammate Oscar Piastri, who also had 1 win and 3 podiums. And look, even though Lando got the most points over this triple header, for me, Oscar Piastri has been the strongest driver in this triple header. His racecraft keeps getting better. The race starts have been incredible for him. The pole positions have been great to watch. But yeah, not a surprise that they're on this list, right? The other driver that I do want to talk about, though, is Isaac Hadjar in that VCARB. Out of the 20 points that VCARB have scored throughout this triple header, Isaac Hadjar has managed to score 16 of them, which is insane. He has 80% of their points just in this triple header alone. This rookie has been so incredibly consistent. And I don't think he was one anyone was really looking at coming into this season. I was hoping all the rookies were going to do well, and I think everyone's always excited to see new drivers on the grid. But in terms of rookies we thought were going to make a really big impact on the grid, I don't think many people had Isaac Hadjar on their radar, and that was a mistake for me as well, right? Because I didn't have him on my radar initially. I thought he was going to do decent, but I didn't think he was going to do as well and be as consistent as he has been. He's getting his head down. He's getting on with it, but he's also just enjoying it as well. And I think that balance is really helping him on track at the moment. Going from drivers who did well to drivers who didn't do very well, we have 5 drivers who didn't manage to score a single point over this triple header. And they are Lance Stroll, Gabriel Bortoleto, Ollie Behrman, Franco Colapinto, and Kimi Antonelli. So let's have a chat about what went on for them. Kimi Antonelli had the absolute worst run of luck over this triple header. Oh my goodness, do I feel so bad for him. He only managed to finish 1 race, and that race was Monaco, where you just need to keep the car on track and you can't really overtake. He DNF'd in his home Grand Prix and he DNF'd at the Spanish Grand Prix as well. It was tough for him over this triple header. I can't imagine how hard it is walking away from 3 races in a row where you scored no points and you've DNF'd from 2 of them, especially as a rookie driver. Obviously not going to be helping with Mercedes and their points haul, but on a personal level for him as well, this really can't feel great. And with Spain, he was so close to the end. It was lap 55 out of 66, and Imola, his home GP. So yeah, not great for him. Lance Stroll, I mean, he only actually took part in 2 of the 3 races during this triple header, because at Spain, after qualifying, he was withdrawn from the race because of that pain in his wrist that he is getting surgery for, or has gotten surgery for by this point. In general though, right, yes, this was not a great triple header for him with the 2 races he took part in. Before that, he was the only Aston Martin driver that had points. And like I said when I spoke about Aston Martin in general, that car seems to be struggling. It doesn't seem the most consistent. So I don't think it's just the drivers here. The car has played a big part in why they're struggling. It can look great at times, but it's not consistent enough for them. With Lance though, I think the main thing for him is not about what he's done in this triple header, but how his recovery goes now from surgery and everything. We don't have a timeline on when Lance Stroll is going to be coming back, but Aston Martin seem to, be thinking best case scenario obviously would be the Canadian Grand Prix, our next race, and Lance's home race. Whether or not that happens is a different case, because it just depends on how well he recovers and how he's feeling and what his doctors think is the right thing for him to do. So yeah, it's a sort of waiting game, I think, with Lance at the moment, just to see. But yes, no points during this triple header. Franco Colapinto, I mean, he came back for his first 3 races of the 2025 season. Not with Williams this year, went over to Alpine. It's a very different car compared to the Williams, and it's been a struggle. Briatore does not seem best impressed with Franco Colapinto. He has had a big crash. He had a driveline issue at the Spanish Grand Prix during qualifying. The car has had problems as well. It's not all Franco. And the way that Alpine is, the way they were with Jack Doohan, right, and how quickly they took him out of the car, you do have to kind of sit and wonder how long Alpine is going to give Franco Colapinto before they're like, well, we've got Paul Aaron or another driver waiting in the wings to take the spot to see if he does any better. I really hope this doesn't almost become a case like it has with the Red Bull second seat, which just seems absolutely cursed. But yeah, I don't know how long they're gonna give Franco, how patient they're gonna be with him, and if crashes and things continue, they are more likely to swap him out. Regardless of that though, the Alpine car in general just seems to be struggling. I mean, the fact they've only scored 4 points over the course of this triple header, obviously from Pierre Gasly, kind of shows that, yeah, the car isn't in the best place and Pierre is also struggling with it. So we will wait and see what they decide with him. Not the first 3 races back that he was probably hoping for, though. And then we've got Gabriel Bortoleto and Ollie Behrman. I've put the two of them together because, in all honesty, they've not got the best cars on the grid. Haas, like I mentioned, glimpses where it looks fantastic, and then points where you're just wondering what happened to them. Ollie Behrman has had his fair share of bad luck lately as well, which really has not helped. But yeah, qualifying has not been great for him. He hits the track and it is difficult then to get decent race pace to get those overtakes in, and has been caught up in a couple of incidents. Gabriel Bortoleto, yeah, that Sauber is just, it's on track and it's finishing laps, but it's not got great pace. And we've known from last year the main focus really has been on when that team becomes Audi. So we're not expecting fireworks from them. That P5 from Nico Hülkenberg in Spain was very surprising. But Gabriel Bortoleto did also get his best qualifying in Spain at P12. So there are flashes where it looks decent. And hopefully we will see Bortoleto in the points soon, because it seems like he's getting more used to the car and Formula One in general. So yeah, hopefully we will see him on the scoreboard soon. The only other driver that I wanted to talk about in this section was Yuki Tsunoda, who only managed to score a single point over the triple header. He did have a crash, which was really, really bad on the car. It was absolutely awful, and I do believe, if I remember correctly, that was in Imola. And Helmut Marko did say after that Tsunoda was running an old spec floor because they didn't have enough of the new spec. So hopefully once we get to Canada and everything, there might be a new spec floor waiting for him. A really, really, really disappointing triple header for him though. 1 point. And yeah, the old spec floor I don't think has helped, but we will wait and see if that floor can get upgraded, what happens there. I mean, Christian Horner has said that he is willing to give Tsunoda some more time, which I really hope in that time Tsunoda does well, because we know he's a good driver, we know he drives well, but we'll see what that cursed Red Bull second seat ends up doing, because it doesn't matter how well the driver can drive at this point. That seat is cursed. You cannot convince me otherwise. But realistically though, right, looking at the entire triple header, all of the drivers, all of the teams, every single team had ups and downs. Some of them had all downs, barring McLaren. They are the only team that I think are walking away from this triple header really, really happy. All the other teams had so many peaks and troughs. There were races where the teams did well, and then they'd go to the next race and it seemed to be falling apart. There are a lot of things with the other 9 teams that need to be ironed and figured out. They need to find solutions to things like race pace, quali pace, tyre wear, and degradation and everything. Specifically for Mercedes, I think a lot of that focus might be on what is going on with their engines, because yeah, we had, I think it was a potential issue with the engine out in Imola. We had Fernando Alonso DNFing with an engine issue in Monaco, the engine issue for George during Monaco qualifying, and then the engine issue for Kimi Antonelli in Spain. Does look like it could be an overheating issue, but that is something they're really gonna want to figure out for them and for their customer teams. But yeah, all the teams, barring McLaren right now, seem to have a lot they need to look through and figure out to get the level of consistency that they're all chasing. Next race up is Canada, though. They have thrown this in the middle of the European leg of the season. They have done for a good couple of years. I think next year it's meant to be following Miami. so it won't be randomly wedged in. But there is obviously going to be a later race in the UK because of time differences. So I will see you next Tuesday where we chat about that and see what the teams are up to. But thank you guys so much for listening, and diolch yn fawr. Make sure you leave this podcast a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or subscribe to me on YouTube if you are enjoying my content. It honestly means the world to me. And I will see you guys the next time you're summoned to the steward's office.